Okay, so listen to this. So Meta, which is the company that owns Facebook and Instagram, plans to lay off about 5% of its employees, which is around 3,600 people. Now, they say that these layoffs will focus on workers who are not meeting performance expectations. The CEO, Mr. Mark Zuckerberg here, stated that this move aims to improve the company's overall performance. So the affected employees will be notified starting February 10th, and supposedly they said that they will receive generous severance packages. I would like to see those severance packages, because what do you mean generous? You need to give us the details. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so they're laying off people, so they're not going to hire new people. Well, despite these layoffs, Meta still intends to hire new employees to fill these positions later in the year. Apparently, this approach is part of Meta's broader strategy to focus on key areas like AI and new technologies. Now, I'm just speculating here, but I really do think that these performance-based layoffs have something to do with the return to office mandates that have been going on. As we all know, Mark Zuckerberg wants his employees in office, and I'm sure a lot of his employees are not wanting to comply. And so this non-compliance might be interpreted as a performance issue, and thus these employees are being laid off. Just a thought, but what are your thoughts?
So I think a lot more people are going to be in this sort of find out phase during 2025. This comment said plans to lay off up to 5% of its staff in preparation for an intense year. And I'm pretty sure this is the summary from a New York Times article that says Meta plans to lay off up to 5% of its employee based on performance ratings, according to an internal memo to workers on Tuesday, viewed by the New York Times. Quote, I've decided to raise the bar on performance management and move out low performers faster, Mark Zuckerberg, chief executive of Meta, said in a memo. Now, me personally, I'm thinking instead of trying harder not to kiss ass and take away fact checkers, be more like Elon Musk. And I don't know, do you remember when he started making people pay for those blue check marks and then all of a sudden Meta decided to do the same thing? Like, It's really sad that he would choose to talk about low performers instead of his distasteful policies. And you know what? I think a lot of people are going to find out this year that they're going to be cutting workforces like they were starting to talk about in 2024 at the end of December, when people started getting notices about not being able to get their annual bonus because of tariffs and blah, blah, blah. This is what's going to happen. And it's really sad for the American worker because low performers out faster, maybe H-1B visa people in quicker, and then they're tied to their visa and their job is tied to their being here. And I see the writing on the wall, don't you? I hope that the workers that are going to get cut for low performance start their own app. Start up their own app. Start working for yourself. Do whatever it is that you were doing for Meta, but do it for yourself. And I hope that when you do, you publicize it and it does well, because I guarantee you, they're probably hiring really great people over there at Meta. And now they're going to start saying they weren't so good. It's just really sad. Because now it's going to be, oh, well, the app isn't performing because we have low performers. Instead of, my policies are shit and people don't like me. That's really the truth. So come speak your piece over on Red Note. Only if TikTok gets really gets banned. Okay, bye.
All right, so it's tech layoffs going off right now. Meta's laying off 5%. People like, oh, why are they laying off this and that? AI is taking people's jobs. People like, oh, no, they're not. They're improving. No, they're not. I have an AI employee company. We make AI employees. When we look at the data behind the, not just the efficiency, but the cost, the ROI, how much inexpensive it is to have an entire AI employee to do a whole entry-level task. I mean, it's insane. These Fortune 500 companies will rather pay companies that have these AI agents $10,000-$20,000 per agent rather than paying $100-$150 per person. You're saving nearly 10x your money by having an AI agent. So I'm telling you guys right now, if you guys want to learn how to do this or do that, or start your own AI agent company, start now. Go to Google, go to YouTube. It's simple as that. If you want to use your own AI agents and deploy it and have like an AI agent agency, use my AI employees. Hey, I'm putting myself on self-promo. But yo, this is why a lot of tech companies are laying people off, because AI agents are so effective, cheap, and efficient. It's insane. But I'm just putting y'all long game, Mike. So, hey, don't take my word if you don't want to.
Since everyone's saying what's on their mind, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I hope all Meta employees who are impacted by the next round of layoffs sue Mark Zuckerberg for defamation of character, because I think that what he just did to announce to the entire world that he is laying off 5-10% of his workforce is so crazy unethical. Not only is Meta stock at an all-time high and poised to climb even higher at the face of this possible impending TikTok ban, he then went ahead and announced that he's cutting the bottom performers at the company. And I'm not saying cutting the bottom performers is something that is unusual in any industry, especially big tech. There's always been stack ranking. There are ethics and morals against with that, but like I do understand that. But what I want to say is the job market right now is absolutely horrendous. Everyone and their mom knows that. He knows that. He's actually one of the main reasons the job market is so horrendous because of the 2 rounds of cuts that he did in 2022 and in 2023. With that said, why would you go out and make it worse for people while your stock is at an all-time high? I also think what is the most unethical about this is no one who is impacted by the layoffs at Meta coming within the next month has any time to course correct any behavior in terms of performance, because this is going to be based off of the most recent performance summary cycle. Trust me, I know, wink, wink. And on top of that, what I think is most incredibly unsettling is none of these people are going to be able to announce on LinkedIn or any other career peer networking site saying, hey, I've recently been impacted by the Meta layoffs. I'm now open for work and now looking for a new job. They won't be able to put on their LinkedIn their last date at Meta was around February 10th, or their end date even on like their LinkedIn say February 10th. Like all of those people are essentially being branded to the universe that they are underperformers at Meta, which doesn't necessarily make you like an underperformer in other parts of the industry or if you just need to get a new job, but they're now branded as that for their character when they go out and seek employment. When potential HR recruiters or hiring managers or anybody looks at the time they left Meta, they'd be able to put somewhat 2 and 2 together. While I'm not saying it's a perfect system, that's what's going to happen. And I think everyone who's going to be involved should absolutely be unionizing. Everyone at Meta should be unionizing, and everyone who's impacted should be suing that man for defamation of character and the possible impact it will have on their finances and their career.
You know, it's one thing to lay off 5% of your workforce, and it's another to tell the entire world that the 5% that you're laying off are also your lowest performers. Like, that is going to make it significantly harder for these people to land their next job. And personally, I don't think we should be using the language of layoff for things like this, because what it is going to make people think is that anyone affected by layoffs are also low performers. This is not an uncommon practice in really big companies to cut the bottom 5% or even bottom 10%. This dates back decades to Jack Welch, who famously fired the bottom 10% every year. He's written books all about management, and this practice has been spread, and so a lot of companies end up doing this. I just really wish they wouldn't say, hey, on this date, we plan to cut any of our lowest performers. So if somebody is exited on that date, you're going to know they're a low performer. Now, Mark Zuckerberg has said that they're going to provide generous severance packages to everyone affected. But what I also worry is that now, because they are going to be attached to this label, some of these folks may decide to leave on their own. They may decide it's worth giving up that severance because they don't want to be labeled as one of the bottom 5% at Meta. The last thing I'll remind people of is you can be in the bottom 5% in one place, and a year later be in the top 5% at your next company. It is rare that someone is successful in every environment. It's possible that you're struggling because you were given a really difficult, unrealistic expectation. It's possible someone's in the bottom 5% because their manager was really awful. Someone could end up in the bottom 5% because someone up in leadership just doesn't like them. Someone could be in the bottom 5% because they were hired 2 months ago and they just haven't even had time to really onboard into their new role. So I hope that everyone really keeps this in mind, whether you were someone affected by the performance reductions or you're someone on the hiring side considering someone that was affected.
For any HR professionals seeing this morning, Meta plans to cut 5% of the workforce on February 10th. Here is the article on LinkedIn. So that's 3,600 people. And typically, when that many people are getting laid off, it issues WARN acts, meaning people have to be notified. There's like state laws, federal laws of a mass layoff. And so in California, in particular, where their headquarters is, they have very strict WARN acts, which is why folks already know that this is coming. However, the reasoning behind it, he says he decided to raise the bar for an intense year. So these are performance-based layoffs, which as an HR professional, I think is extremely lazy. That means that you have not performance managed your workforce. That means that you don't have a good system for your managers in terms of managing their employees and coaching them. There's already like a culture issue there. It's just like, you don't perform, we cut you, instead of actually like working with someone and trying to give them opportunities to improve. Don't love that. Second off, since they've issued multiple WARN acts, they're going to be watched very quickly, very intensely, especially from California. And typically when you lay off a certain position, you can't go and repost that role in like a month. It's not how it works. However, he's claiming it's like performance-based layoffs and the return to office mandates. So I think his workaround is that like, oh, they refuse to return to the office and the role requires them to be in the office. Maybe that's the legal workaround. I don't know if they're going to like repost the same positions, but to me, it sounds like they might be doing an entire restructure, or they just plan to, I think they're going to do a entire restructure. Regardless, you should not be doing a layoff just to for performance management. Like, are you kidding? That is so lazy on behalf of every manager at the company. It's so wrong. Also, one last comment. There's that many people getting laid off. This has been in the works for at least like a month. A month and a half, if especially a WARN Act was sent out, because obviously you have to know how many people you're laying off ahead of time. And then you have to be okay, like, we need to issue a WARN Act. So like they've been preparing this for a bit, which is ironic because the TikTok sale hasn't really been final until about this week. So just some food for thought on this Wednesday, full moon week.
Hey, so you may have heard that there were going to be layoffs at Meta in the recruiting department. That's me. I'm a technical recruiter, so come with me and see if I got laid off. I'm going to check my email right now. All my friends have been hitting me up, telling me that their whole team got let go, all of these things. So let me see if I'm one of them. Your administrator has suspended your Meta Dropbox account. You no longer have access to the account and the files. Okay, y'all, here's the email. I got laid off at Meta. I'm looking at the email right now. You've recently heard that the hiring freeze will be extended until the end of H1 as the necessary decision to lay off a large part of the demand delivery team. Unfortunately, you've been included in this layoff. First and foremost, we want you to know that you have our deepest gratitude for all you've contributed, et cetera, et cetera. Damn, y'all, got laid off. So guess what that means, okay? My TikTok is about to pop.
Meta eliminates DEI programs. Meta is disbanding all of their DEI programs and teams effective immediately and conveniently on a Friday before people have to go out and enjoy their weekends. But seriously, not surprised that this is happening. We've seen it with Twitter, now X, them removing the fact checking. We've known that these tech companies have been deprioritizing DEI for a long time now. Zuck even mentions it in his podcast with Joe Rogan. We're about to see a lot more of this trending for the next 4 years. Let me be clear. Microaggressions, bias don't just vanish because you decide to shift directions. And for my metamates that are still on the inside, I am sending you so much love and care through these times, especially if you are a part of one of the ERG groups. I want to empower everyone to start thinking about your personal brand. While we are so concerned with these other big corporations and building a brand for them, we are forgetting about our own identity. I can help you with that. I have tons of free resources and templates on my website. I'm also hosting a virtual workshop at the end of this month to help people optimize their brand on LinkedIn. So for these next 4 years, am I scared? No, I'm not scared. I'm locking arms with my community. Make sure you're taking care of yourself.
It only took 15 days, but we have our first mass layoffs announcement of the year. Meta is announcing that they are laying off around 5% of their workforce, which equates to 3,600 people. Mark Zuckerberg has basically said that they're getting rid of low performers in order to prepare for an intense year in 2025. In a recent podcast episode, he mentioned that AI is getting better and better. And we're going to hear this term a lot in 2025, and it's AI agents. An AI agent is basically a step up from an AI tool. It can essentially perform repetitive tasks, ongoing, for example, customer service. It could answer customer calls, answer questions. In recruiting, it could do screening calls. In engineering, it could write programs. So basically, it can do what a low performer could do. So more and more CEOs are going to follow suit like this, I predict, in 2025. So if you are a low performer or you're somebody that's doing a lot of repetitive tasks, I would definitely get your resume ready. I would start making connections, and I would prepare to be potentially laid off. I still think 2025 will be better than 2024 and 2023 when it comes to hiring. But I still think a lot of these major companies are going to look to make more efficiencies and use out of AI agents.
Meta announced today that they're going to cut 5% of their workforce. It doesn't sound like much, right? I mean, even when you think about the number of employees, because I'm sure that they employ thousands and thousands. But for someone who's been laid off before, it is heartbreaking. 5% is going to be about 4,000 employees. It sounds kind of familiar, right? Remember when Elon Musk bought Twitter and he laid off 6,000 employees? I just feel like when you become a business owner, you are, or a leader, a manager, an executive, you are responsible for your employees and their families' well-being. It says that Mark Zuckerberg is laying off people to remake his company for the Trump era. What the F does that mean? Mark Zuckerberg is like going down the wrong path. He's spiraling right now. Musk said that he is going to apply his organizational philosophy, terminating, laying off people in the government with this whole Doge department, that he is going to lay off some government officials. This is scary, you guys. This is scary.
Meta Platforms has announced a plan to cut approximately 5% of its workforce, targeting low-performing employees as part of a strategy to enhance performance standards in preparation for what CEO Mark Zuckerberg describes as an intense year ahead. This decision, affecting around 3,600 employees, aims to implement more extensive performance-driven reductions and will be communicated to those impacted starting February 10, 2025. Affected employees will receive generous severance packages with plans to refill these positions later in the year. Affected employees will receive generous severance packages with plans to refill these positions later in the year. As the company prepares for these transitions, the mood within the organization reflects both the challenges ahead and the potential for renewed growth. These changes represent not just an adjustment in numbers, but a pivotal moment for the company as it navigates through the complexities of the tech industry.